deviant husbands.
Housewives everywhere. Are you one of those that gives your husband an inch and he thinks he's a ruler? It's time to sit up, take note and bring those naughty husbands to heel. With the extra help of my furry friend, of course. Men and dogs. Don't you just love them? But have you ever noticed how similar they are? They both have a love of the beautiful game, don't mind a good old scratch in public, and with proper training can be taught to do the most amazing things. Well, they are clever creatures after all. Dogs, that is.
Yes. Wow. Oh.
So funnily enough, using dog training methods to bring your hopeless husbands to heel really isn't as crazy as you think. Somebody once said that marriage was like a 3-ring circus. Engagement ring, wedding ring, and suffering. But ladies, it doesn't really have to be like that. Your husbands aren't hopeless, they're just not properly trained. Mine is. In fact, I've been known to pat him on the shoulder and say, "Good boy." So in order to whip the nation's husbands into shape each week, I'll be showing one wife the tricks of the dog training trade. Then I'll adapt my dog training techniques into a husband training program for each wife to take and try at home. Let's meet this week's couple. Lovebirds Michelle and David share a house with Michelle's 2 teenage children in High Wycombe, Buckinghamshire.
I've been living with my partner David for about the last 5 years, and we work together all day, every day. And in theory, this would sound nice and romantic, but in reality, it is starting to drive me crazy.
That's because software designer David spends every waking moment on his computer in the kitchen, leaving all the housework and cooking to Michelle.
David cannot pull himself away from the PC. He is addicted. He could not live without a computer, without a doubt. His life would be, worthless, I would imagine.
I absolutely love my job. I've done the same thing since '97, and I'm still as passionate about it as I was back then.
He is a workaholic. He works very early in the morning till very late at night. Sometimes he's actually worked through the night. Makes him sound so boring, doesn't it? My goodness.
Computer mad David spends an average of 4 hours a night beavering away at his computer in the kitchen, and he insists on quiet when he's working, which stops Michelle doing simple domestic tasks like washing up.
It kind of gets difficult when people come into the kitchen and start banging things around, and it sounds like really selfish, but I've made a sacrifice in order to keep my overheads low. So we've got more money to spend on other things. And because of that, I think people should respect that sacrifice.
It is an office to David, and it's a priority. Dining table we don't need, but an office we do.
But it's a kitchen, for goodness sake. And if something's too noisy, well, David simply turns it off.
It's actually happened where he's turned off the washing machine mid-cycle. I've actually thought it's been finished, open the door, and water starts coming out.
Michelle had hoped that when David opened a new office in High Wycombe, he would move all his computer clutter out of their home for good. But surprise, surprise, that hasn't happened.
I really would love to have my kitchen back. I can't see it. I really can't. Miracles happen, I suppose. I'd love it to happen.
Michelle does nag me, there's no doubt about it. She's always on my case about one thing or another, but it's usually trivia. Oh, can you put this away? Can you tidy that up? And I genuinely do not feel that I'm at fault.
I do think I'm a pushover. I think I'm easily manipulated. I need to take control again, don't I?
Oh dear, a computer geek. No wonder poor Michelle's losing patience. Time to start rebooting him straight away. And here's where she'll learn how. My dog training school. Michelle must learn to think of herself as the dog trainer and young David as the dog. You say that he never stops thinking about work when he comes home, but he is living with a work colleague.
It's his attitude that's connected with work that affects the whole of the life that we lead. So it's very, very hard for me to actually operate in the kitchen and cook dinner, cleaning, putting washing machine on, tumble dryer, without it irritating David, because his office is at the other end. So I can't actually even put the tumble dryer on. I'm not allowed.
I'm sorry, I wouldn't put up with that.
How would you deal with that in dog terms?
Wow, that is a stinker, isn't it? If the dog says when he's out and about sniffing around, he's having a good time, and I say, Fido, come, and he goes, too busy, too busy.
Same thing. Isn't
Yeah, it is exactly the same thing. So with a dog that says that, we have to go right back to the very beginning. And I have to show him that my reward that I'm going to give him is a darn sight better than what he thought he was getting out there. With some dogs, it could just be a woofle on the head, you know, just stroking him and saying, oh, what a good dog.
Yeah.
What a good dog. So there is always something that is a really good reward.
Okay.
There are several ways to train a dog, but mine are all clicker trained. The sound of the clicker signals to the dog that its behaviour is correct. A reward follows. And the dog soon works out what it needs to do to earn its reward. And believe it or not, ladies, that's exactly how we're going to train naughty husbands too. David's substitute for the day is Jono, a beautiful golden retriever puppy, and his owner Hannah. Jono's problem is that he doesn't respond when Hannah calls him, which is just like naughty David. And we're going to fix that using one of the most important dog training lessons there is, the recall. A recall is when the dog is free, running free, having a wonderful time out there being a dog, and Hannah will say, Jono, come! And Jono goes, no, I don't think so, not today, I'm too busy having fun. So we've got to teach Jono that it is a good thing to come back, and that's called doing the recall. Let's see how owner Hannah does getting Jono's attention. Okay, Hannah, call him back.
Jono! Jono! Jono, come on! Jono! Jono, come here! Jono!
We saw just now with Jono how when his friend Millie was over there, Millie was going to give him far more reward than Hannah ever could. Now for David, when he's at home, he gets every type of reward that he wants and needs from his work and his computer. So your task for the day, Michelle, as far as David is concerned, is what would be worth more to David than his computer and his work?
Absolutely nothing.
Ah, there must be something.
There isn't. I can assure you there's absolutely nothing.
Oh dear, I smell a bit of doubt creeping in. Can I convince Michelle how similar David's behaviour is to Jono's as we train him together? Michelle, will you try calling his name and come, and as he comes to you, click and then reward him when he gets to you, okay?
Jono, come. Jono, come. Come.
Just like David, Jono isn't listening or responding to Michelle.
Jono.
But I think I know why. Forgive me, but you're boring. So you've got to lighten up your tone. You have to make it interesting for the dog. Okay. Jono, come! Okay?
Okay, Jono. Jono.
Excuse me. Jono, come! Again.
Jono.
Incredible the effect a tone of voice can have. And that's an important lesson for all you ladies. If you make things fun, your husbands will respond.
Jono, come.
Michelle must keep her tone of voice light and remember how important rewards are when she's back home trying to entice David away from his computer. And she must be consistent or the training simply won't work. And call him.
Come.
No, that wasn't the same, was it?
Come.
Yes. Now, can you see the difference?
Yeah.
The moment of truth. Has Jono learnt the recall? If we let him off the lead, will he come back when I call? That's a good boy. I have the lead and he's off the line. Come! Sit. Okay, Michelle, now are you amazed at what you've seen?
I am amazed. I'm amazed how quickly he picked it up.
His behaviour improved changed simply because it was worth his while.
I can actually see now, I can relate it to in our relationship. I think it works when David asks me to do something and he doesn't ask in a particularly nice way, so I don't respond very well. I think that's where the issue is.
Yeah, you have to decide what he would like more than working on the computer. What is a bigger reward to him?
I'll take the clicker home and apply it with chocolate buttons and see what happens.
Very good idea. I think deep down Michelle really, really wants David to change. But what she has to understand is that she needs to change first. If she can do that, she'll be well away, I'm sure. I wish her all the luck in the world. Let's go husband training. Now, David has no idea whatsoever that Michelle has been to my dog training school, and he hasn't a clue her newfound skills are about to be tried out on him. During the training period, their house has been rigged with cameras, but David believes he's taking part in a show about relationships. Well, it's half true. Michelle must try and remember everything I've taught her. She needs to stay light-hearted, offer David something more appealing than sitting at his computer 24 hours a day, and she has to reward every tiny step he takes towards leaving his keyboard and helping her. Let husband training commence.
I said, Gemma's done the veggie for me.
It's the first day and Michelle and David arrive home from work at the same time.
Right then, what are we at then?
I'm just going to get dinner on.
Oh, little treasure, he's just asked you about dinner. You missed the perfect opportunity to ask for his help there.
That lady from Business Link said she wanted to use us on the Business Link website.
No, Michelle, what did I say about being boring? How do you expect him to forget about work if you keep bringing up the subject?
So, is this the computer that's staying here forever now?
Well, it'll be staying here for a while then.
Oh, that light tone of voice you had with the dog seems like a distant memory. I know it's frustrating, Cherub, but if you want change, you need to make more effort.
I think David is selfish sometimes. And he just doesn't hear. When he's sat at the computer, he just doesn't hear a thing that I say. He says yes and he nods, but it doesn't go in. Can you just keep an eye on this so it doesn't boil over?
Yeah.
Tut tut, Michelle, you're supposed to be distracting him with interesting things. Her boiling pan.
Right.
David, I said to you, just keep an eye on it 2 minutes while I went upstairs.
Okay.
So now look, the cook's been filled because that's not a difficult.
Well, the dinner may as well be in the dog. It's ruined. And I'm afraid I blame Michelle. She's expecting too much too soon. She set David up for failure, herself up for disappointment, and the family up for beans on toast round the telly. Oh boy, has she got her work cut out.
This is the works one.
Last night, how did it go? Not very well. I don't really think I saw any good behaviour. I didn't try to reward it at all. I just didn't see any. I've got to start making that line and not going over it.
Next morning, Michelle has decided that the way to David's heart is through his stomach.
Tell you what you could do, darling, if you don't mind, is actually starting the sausages while I just finish off what I'm doing. That'd be brilliant.
Well, your tone of voice is lighter than yesterday, but I'm not convinced you've managed to get David's attention.
Tell you what. Sausage, egg, black pudding, and we'll have some beans. We've got beans.
Tell you what, David, why don't we do it together? And then you can check that I'm making sure the sausages are brilliant.
Tell you what, why don't we do this together, eh? Why don't we do this together?
Oh dear, that wasn't really the plan, was it? Looks like I was right.
Well, I don't think it's pleasure, is it? I don't find surfing on the internet and doing stuff on my computer pleasure. It's a necessity. All right? It's only you that finds it a pleasure.
Yeah, right.
I don't know if I've got any baked beans left. Yeah, he is blocking his ears off to me. Yes, he's out of control because I personally feel that everybody tips toes round David. He is the controller. How many would you like?
3 please. I'll have 2 eggs. Not too runny, not too hard.
Dearie me, Michelle's given up and reverted back to her old ways.
I thought it'd be easier today, and it's not. It's been really hard to get him away. He wasn't relaxed this morning, and I couldn't relax him. It didn't matter how much I changed the tone of my voice. He just wasn't having it today.
So by the end of Michelle's first attempt at husband training David, he's definitely got the upper hand. He stays at his computer while Michelle eats off her lap again, and David's breakfast gets cold next to her. I think it's time for you to come back to school, my love.
Maybe it's down to my tone, maybe it's down to what I'm offering as the reward. I think I need Annie's help.
Well, it's not really going to plan, is it? As soon as David logged on, Michelle logged off. She didn't husband train him at all, for goodness sake. Time to try a different approach. I'm going to teach Michelle how to hone her attention-grabbing skills. This is not Let's Knock Michelle time, but
Right.
You told me last week that you didn't talk about work, and yet I timed you, and it was 1 minute and 58 seconds from coming in the door to you talking about work. Now, if you talk about work, how can David switch off?
Guilty.
Yes.
I think it needs a different tactic on this one.
Well, certainly the one thing you have to be aware of is that Rome wasn't built in a day. We don't teach dogs things in
No.
30 seconds flat. You can't change people's behaviours instantly. And that's the most important lesson of the day for Michelle. Today I'm going to prove that if you are patient, don't get frustrated, and take the time to reward small steps, then you can train dogs to do amazing things. David's stand-in for the day is Tinker, a miniature poodle brought in by her owner Pauline. Over here we have some marker domes, different colours. We're going to use the white one because it's probably the most obvious for Tinker. I'm going to put this on the floor, and I am going to reward her with a little piece of whatever she likes every time she goes near it. We're going to teach Tinker to go in 3 different directions using coloured domes. I start with one, I'll lure Tinker to it and reward her for touching it. Now, I just caught her with the click as her face went past it. So that's the tiny increments we're looking for, you see, Michelle. Now she knows I want her to touch the dome, I'll introduce the direction cue. I've used white. 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 Okay, let's get another one out now. The colours actually make no odds because dogs see in shades of grey, but each one will have a different verbal cue. Red. So I'm adding the name as she's actually going to them. It's not that she knows them, for goodness sake, but I am putting the sound there with something that she had white intended to do anyway, which is how you would add a cue to any behaviour. White. Yes, good girl. By God, did she stop and think, didn't she? Yeah. She was going to the red, and because I said white, she stopped and turned round. You clever little sausage. OK, Michelle, on your feet then, love. Grab a handful. Oh, excuse me, who's your friend? Yes. Michelle must be patient and reward every little step Tinker takes towards the correct dome. And she mustn't expect too much too soon from the dog. Or David. Good timing.
White.
That's my girl. Beautiful timing, yes.
I wish it were as easy as this at home.
It will be, it will be. Don't expect too much of him, or indeed of yourself. Don't get cross if it doesn't work.
Right. I think that's the hardest thing, keeping your patience, really.
Yes. Who'd have thought you'd get a dog to pick this up in just an hour? Ladies, imagine what you can get a husband to do over a lifetime.
Red. Good dog.
We've just got 1 week left.
Yep.
All you've got to remember is to keep your patience, lightness, keep the sense of fun, the sense of humour going.
I shall do my best.
Well, training's over and it's all down to Michelle now. I must say I feel much more encouraged by her attitude this week. There's a real sense of fun lurking there. And I think if she works hard at finding something that'll tickle David's fancy more than an evening on his blessed computer, then I reckon she's cracked it. Good luck, kid. Back home and after a long day at work, a more positive Michelle tries to engage David in conversation.
Now, I bought some really nice things for dinner tonight.
Smashing.
Don't lose heart, dearie. Remember the dogs. You need the patience of a saint when you're training, and you can't expect change immediately.
Right, your drinks there, pop it.
It's being really difficult tonight. This is David. But I would usually take his drink to him, but tonight I put it on the side. If he wants it, he's got to get away from his PC and get it.
Well done, you. It was a shame you weren't there to reward him, but still, it's a success. And now you need to build on that.
And then I'd really appreciate it if you'd actually come and help cook dinner for me. It's fillet steak. It's a really nice piece of fillet steak.
I'll do it if you want.
Oh, it would be nice to do it together. Yeah? But I'll get the stuff.
It'd be nice to do this together, but you can't do it, can you? So I've got to do this on my own and do that with you together.
Well, what would be really good, David, is really if you left work at work and let yourself relax a little bit.
Once I've got this finished, if you really, really, really want me to cook with you, I'll stop doing this and I'll cook with you.
I would really like you to get involved.
Well done, my love. Your patience and persistence are paying off.
Right, what do you want me to do?
There you go, look.
I can do this job.
I know. There you go. Now,
Oh, cheeky girl. She's rewarding him with tasty treats, popping prawns into David's mouth for his good behaviour.
Hang on. These prawns
yeah.
are absolutely gorgeous.
The more rewards David gets, the more he's helping her. And he's not even glanced at all the work that simply couldn't wait 10 minutes ago.
Where's this steak from Mum?
His mood was like so arrogant and male chauvinistic, and I just thought, how on earth am I going to turn this around? But I thought, no, stay with it. So I've stuck with it, and I am really surprised.
This meal tonight, what we're having, I don't reckon anyone's having it better anywhere. This is gorgeous.
I hope it's not just a fluke, and I think that I'm going to carry on like this and be positive and see whether it's consistent. I'm really trying, and I can see that, it's going to work. It is working, and I hope it carries on working.
Michelle strikes while the iron is hot and has managed to persuade David to move some of his precious computer equipment out of the kitchen and into the new office, where it belongs.
I'm happy to put that in the office.
Well, I think today has ended on quite a high. Ladies, see how much you can achieve with a light tone of voice. When you're met with a bit of pig-headedness, don't nag and don't rise to the bait. The next day, a newly confident Michelle has decided she needs to be inventive if she's to keep David away from his computer.
What's this?
Got a table and chairs delivered.
With a visit from David's parents looming tomorrow night, cheeky Michelle decides it's the perfect time to get her dining room back. Oh, look at what a bit of rewarding can do. David's forgotten all about his computer and is busy earning grapes for being a good boy.
That is just comfortable enough to sit 4 people without taking up so much room in here.
And dear old Michelle is in her element.
Tonight, I've been a winner all round, and I'm so pleased.
Give us a kiss for your hard work.
God, this is fun.
I can't remember the last time that I actually enjoyed a meal where we all sat at the table together. It's been months and months and months, and I'm so ecstatic.
It's the final day and David's parents are arriving in 2 hours. David has finally agreed his precious computer has no place in the kitchen and a compromise has been reached. He's hiding it with a screen.
Superb.
David's parents arrived to a very different kitchen to last week and the meal is a roaring success, not a dog's dinner.
Thank you for doing this. This is lovely. David's prepared all this tonight. Beautiful. I haven't done a lot at all. Last night, David's office was there, all over here, all up here. We had book racks, filing trays, everything all over the place. And we didn't even own a dining room table and chairs were down here.
She's trying to change me.
I think it's gone extremely well. David has got to the point where he'll even do his washing up duties without complaint. It's a miracle.
What a good girl. It's time for David to find out the truth. But has he noticed anything about Michelle's sneaky dog training methods?
Michelle has been a lot nicer. I have noticed that. She's been really nice to me. If I've just done, say, something basic, I've got a little reward for it or whatever, a little pat on the back. You know, I've not been kind of taken for granted like before.
Blissfully unaware, let's see how he takes being compared to a pooch. Hello, David. I'm Annie, and I'm the expert Michelle's been seeing for the last couple of weeks to help her make a few changes around your house. But what nobody's told you is that I'm an experienced dog trainer, and Michelle's been using dog training techniques to try to make you a good boy. But did she succeed? Let's take a look. You're probably a little shocked at being compared to a dog, aren't you, David? But although Michelle adores you, there's one thing that's driving her up the wall. Your computer equipment has taken over the kitchen.
Is this the computer that's staying here forever now?
Michelle had reached the end of her tether because for months now the family had been forced to eat off their laps. She decided it was time to try something new. At dog school, I told Michelle that if we were going to get anywhere, she had to change first, and I soon discovered where she was going wrong with you. Forgive me, but you're boring. Like you, Jono didn't listen to a word Michelle said, but Michelle soon learned to change her tone of voice, and Jono came running.
Jono, come.
By the end of the day, Michelle had no problems getting Jono's attention, but how would she do back at home with you?
Can you just keep an eye on this so it doesn't boil over?
Yeah. Right.
David.
Her first week didn't quite go to plan, and the computer was still the main attraction for you, so more doggy guidance was needed. This time your replacement for the day was Tinker. I showed Michelle that by just rewarding tiny steps and having infinite patience, you could get a dog to do quite a lot.
I wish it were as easy as this at home.
Michelle was much more determined to change you and found a way to tempt you away from your computer. You lapped up the rewards as Michelle popped some lovely treats into your mouth, just as she had with the dogs.
You're laughing at
I just went straight for the bait, didn't I, every time?
After just 2 weeks, the change in you was incredible. You've made Michelle a very happy woman, and TV dinners are thankfully a thing of the past. So you both get my vote for Best in Show. Well done.
I never, ever, ever suspected 1 minute that that's what it was all about. I just thought you was being really nice to me. Now I just feel, now I've seen that dog handling training, well, I suppose it works, doesn't it? It does work. You know, I just fall for these treats.
Glutton for having
Pat
food,
on the
but,
head
you know.
and...
Good boy. David.
What a good boy.
Absolutely brilliant. I could not have anticipated it to go quite as well as it has.
I do feel that there's been some changes at home, but just keep the treats coming and you'll carry on seeing the changes.
It's definitely brought us closer together, so much so that I don't want the cameras to go.
Well, that's one more of the nation's husbands brought to heel. That's just 10,940,299 to go. I've certainly got my work cut out for me. Here's next week's contender for the high jump. Poor Sue's had enough of Rottweiler Rick, and it's my toughest challenge yet.
Do this washing up for me, honey? Why?
This week's top tip is great for anyone who has a young pup. If you've had a puddle on the carpet and you've cleaned it, but you're still left with a whiff of that unmistakable smell, put a bowl of vinegar in the room overnight, and by the morning the smell will have disappeared completely. See you next week, dog fans.